Hi, my name is Jaime Gonzalez, and I'm here to show you a quick demo of app assessment on the Tanzu platform. Let's get started. So I'm going to use the new Tanzu platform app onboarding capabilities in Tanzu Hub, which is our central control plane from where we can manage all aspects of the platform and applications across environments. But today, we're going to focus only on the app portfolio assessment. With this app portfolio assessment tool, we can get you a holistic and very clear view of your application state. The tool is quite unique in the sense that it performs these assessments and scannings in a non-intrusive way and only accessing the source code of the application repositories instead of focusing on the runtime. We look at application source code to extract technical insights or facts such as languages, frameworks, use, dependencies, versions of all that, but also extract architectural patterns that could be considered technical debt or even challenges that could create friction when moving applications from legacy environments into platforms like Tanzu's. And we assess applications in this manner, assigning a suitability score and also facilitating the ingestion of business metadata, like, for example, operational cost or business criticality, so that teams can align both the technical modernization efforts with business factors. This data-driven approach and visibility enables teams to identify best candidates and make data-driven decisions towards modernization and platform onboarding. So let's start by looking at the landing page of a portfolio assessment. Here we can see a few heat maps that gives us an understanding of the suitability of the application portfolios that we have assessed per portfolio or in a more aggregated manner. And when we talk suitability, we basically calculate this suitability sentiment in a suitability score based on challenges that we found. And we can visualize all this in this aggregated manner, also intertwined with those business factors that I was mentioning before, so that we can have a holistic perspective of how suitable critical applications are, for example. Now, this score, this suitability is based on an estimated effort of what's required to remediate the challenges that we found on repositories. And we can also see here more information, like the candidates that we have selected while we were assessing the results of this scan. If we keep going, we reach an area where there is a lot of very interesting aggregated information, like the modernization challenges, technical facets, technical depth. The challenges, what we identify as a challenge is very interesting. It goes back to what 12-factor applications are and the guidance that those factors provide when planning to move applications to the cloud, and in this case, Tanzu Platform. So we can have identify challenges like writing local files or process that exit in the middle of the runtime. The technical facets are more discovery insights. Like, for example, the fact that we are using MySQL database or we use a Log4j library. And then technical depth are also architectural decisions that maybe are not following the best practices. They cause less friction, they're less problematic, but they should be worked on also to improve code maintenance. If we keep going, we can see additional breakdown of information that gives us a sense of all the languages that we have detected across the portfolio. And this is by no means only reduced to Java and .NET. We can identify languages of pretty much all the file types that we scan, and we can detect other type of applications like Python, even Ruby, C, or any type of JavaScript or front-end type of application. We try to also extract other valuable discovery insights like the web servers that are used. This is very, very important when planning for modernizations later, and the database that are used by the applications. Then more specific to the Java and .NET stacks of applications, we provide additional insights on the versions of the framework, the versions of Java, and for example, the many different versions of Spring Boot. And for .NET, something very similar in terms of the .NET framework or the versions of .NET Core. So we can basically get insights from both worlds. and also a more dedicated breakdown of the technical insights for those two large groups. This is an aggregated view, more of an executive summary across the entire portfolio. But for each one of these boxes here that we call repository groups, we can take a much closer look. So for example, if we go into this Jaime diverse repository group, we can see something very similar, but just for that portfolio of applications. Now, this could align with a team, a business unit, or any other type of organization. And we control access to this specific repository group via RBAC, of course. So here we can see the heat map is giving us a sense of the suitability per each one of the repositories, including this repository group. And it provides very similar information as we could see for this repository group compared to the holistic summary across repos. Similar insights for modernization challenges, technical facets, and then the breakdown of frameworks and versions. So now at this point, let's go and take a closer look at some of the repositories. Okay, so this is the full list of repositories that we included in our group. We can see all the details that we included in the ingestion file and also the results of the analysis in terms of the assessment being complete and the suitability status. Now, none of these have been selected as candidate or onboarded. More on that to follow. So let's take a quick look at one of the repositories that we have scanned, one that has a lot of juicy information. In fact, it has been determined this has a low score because we have detected a lot of patterns that we think are problematic when it comes to modernization and when it comes to trying to move this application into cloud and platform. So the first thing that we show here is the challenges that we find. There is a severity assigned to each one of these challenges. And that severity represents how critical it is the problem in terms of cloud suitability and how supported it is by the platform. We can have challenges with low severity towards medium and high. There could be some challenges that are deemed as blockers, and some challenges for which we may have some automatic remediation rules and recipes. Now, in order to detect these challenges, like anything that our scans do, we need a set of what we call rules that really constitute groups of regular expressions that are applied to specific files. These regular expressions extract the specific patterns of the code. And in this rule, we have instilled the expertise of many years of work helping organizations modernize applications to provide also our opinions on what we think is a challenge versus just a characteristic of the application. So if we were going to check, for example, these J2E platform dependencies, we will see that there are a lot of rules triggered, like the use of web profile and JNDI, etc. If we click in any of these rules, we'll see that it gives us specific information about the patterns that were included in the regular expression. As many rules contain, there is specific advice because for some of the rules that we have implemented, there is no easy automatic fix that we can implement. So at the very least, we provide some guidance on what to do next. The rules also include an effort, which is just a numeric value that tries to capture the amount of effort required to solve or mitigate this problem. It's not man hours and man days, but it gives us a sense and it helps us compare. These rules can be customized if you think that you want to tinker on the advice or the effort or even change the regular expression. That's very easy to do. So if we go back to the summary, we'll see that we have additional insights on all the rules that were actually triggered, because some of the rules don't trigger challenges. They just detect additional technical debt, minor issues, or just simple discovery insights. And lastly, I'll also capture here or call out that we detect important information about the repository in terms of the activity, the age of the repository, contributors, how often commits are done, and the languages that were detected. And you can download this specific information anytime for further assessment. Now, going back to the repositories of our repository group, all these were repositories that were already assessed. But how do we got here? Well, we got here by creating a repository group. I mentioned before that that could be mapped to a specific team or specific group of applications, a business unit. It will depend on each organization. But simply by going to create a repository group, giving it a name, can add a description, of course, but it's not mandatory. The next thing we need to provide is a CSV file that has the information of the repositories. This CSV file has a list of repositories, including a name of the repository, the URL of the repository, a specific branch or folder if the part of the code we want to scan is not really at root and is really just part of the repository, not the entire of it. And also additional information that is very important for us to organize the data and to connect it with business factors like the business criticality, operational cost of maintaining that application. If a group of applications or repositories belong to the same business app, that's a place where we could also define this and the owners of the application. So once we have the CSV imported, we need to provide some credentials in order to scan the repositories. This part is important because the repositories could be GitHub, Bitbucket, or GitLab. You may need a token or user credentials. You may also need to put some proxy settings also in order to for the platform to be able to access the repositories wherever they are. Once this is done, I can create the repository and see that it has parsed the information that I provided in the CSV file correctly. I had only two repositories to make this scan quick. One is a very simple one that if I trigger the assessment, you'll see that it's highly suitable, and another one with a bit more insights. So I could go a different ways here. I could select each one of the repositories to assess all of them, or just click assess all if you have a much longer list. Once this is done, the request to scan these repositories is placed in a queue, and scans happen in parallel up to a certain size of a batch, of course. The scan here was very fast. We have obviously because we only have two repositories, both have been assessed. One is highly suitable, the other one is medium. If I look here, I can see the details of these specific repositories. As you can see, the information is now is less dense because there are only two repositories. So once we look a little bit more in the repository, we'll see that for this application, we have a very high suitability score and a challenge that has been flagged as recipe available. This is a very interesting thing because with additional tools that we have in this solution that we will see in another recording, we could take further steps in order to remediate this challenge, which is a very common problem to find in applications that have been running on servers or any type of old environment, and when moved to containers, we need to move where they write the log files. So now that we reach this point, the next step, or most obvious next step for this application would be to mark it as a candidate. And after marking this application as a candidate, we are really ready to try all the onboarding steps. The tool is giving us a clue on what will be the next step to use our CF repo onboard application command in order to start onboarding this application. Now, we are going to do that as a next step in this series. We will onboard the application. We will run an end-to-end demo to automatically mitigate some of the challenges, in fact, particularly this challenge. We will prepare the app for onboarding, generating any necessary configuration to push into the platform. We may upgrade outdated vulnerable libraries, and we apply further optimizations. But we'll see that on the next session. Thank you for listening.